The Quran is the holy book of Muslims that contained many great life lessons and instructions. There are, however, certain passages that often leave non-Muslims and some Muslims alike debating over the meaning behind these passages. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to FED Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and for this episode, I'll be looking at 10 verses in the Quran that sound fake but are not. I'll be listing the verses and may add some comments. And this episode is intended to simply inform you of these verses and highlight the points of debate surrounding them. There will be no examination of objections and reasonings behind these verses according to Islamic and non-Islamic sources. All right, let's begin. The verse at number 10 is Surah 4 verses 3, and it goes as follows. And if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of other women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then marry only one or those your right hand possesses. This is more suitable that you may not incline to injustice. So many people have wondered, if men can marry several wives, then why can't women also marry several husbands? The verse at number 9 is Surah 4 verses 34. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. But if they obey you once more, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. So the debate about this passage is whether or not this is a physical striking of a woman or symbolic for being stern with them. Yeah, there's a whole lot of debate happening around this one. But moving on to number 8, we have Surah 5 verses 38. Although the Quran has many passages of peace and prosperity, this one has been pretty tough for many people to reconcile because it's a passage of harsh punishment and they're looking to reconcile it with the peaceful view of Islam. But either way, the passage goes as follows. As for the thief, the male and the female amputate their hands in recompense for what they committed as a deterrent punishment from Allah. And Allah is exalted in might and wise. Number 7 brings us to Surah 66 verses 9. Followers of other religions have used this passage frequently in their arguments against Islam, and it goes as follows. O Prophet, strive against the disbelievers and the hypocrites and be harsh upon them, and their refuge is hell, and wretched is the destination. Moving on now to Surah 33 verses 50. This verse is a big topic of debate among religious circles in regards to the validity of Muhammad being a prophet. We find mentions of slavery and intimate relations in the following passage. O Prophet, indeed we have made lawful to you your wives to whom you have given their due compensation, and those your right hand possesses from what Allah has returned to you of captives, and the daughters and your paternal uncles, and the daughters of your paternal aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncles, and the daughters of your maternal aunts who emigrated with you, and a believing woman if she gives herself to the Prophet, and if the Prophet wishes to marry her, this is only for you, excluding the other believers. We certainly know what we have made obligatory upon them concerning their wives and those their right hands possess. But this is for you in order that there will be upon you no discomfort, and ever is Allah forgiving and merciful. Moving on now to number 5. This brings us to Surah 2 verses 65. And you had already known those who transgressed among you concerning the Sabbath. And we said to them, be apes, despised. Now, the belief around this is that these people who broke the Sabbath were turned into apes by God. Another verse in the Quran is used to make the point that they actually became literal apes rather than this being metaphorical. Surah 2 verses 117 says this: He is the one who has originated the heavens and the earth. And when he wills to originate a thing, he only says to it, be, and it becomes. So in the previous passage, we see be apes. So this is an argument used for this verse as to it meaning literal apes versus symbolic apes. Continuing with number 4, we have Surah 8 verses 12. Remember when your Lord inspired to the angels, I am with you, so strengthen those who have believed. I will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieved, so strike them upon the necks and strike from them every fingertip. And the argument that is often raised against this verse is that it goes against religious freedom. Continuing this episode at number 3, we have Surah 2 verses 282. This verse in a nutshell says that the witness testimony of one man is equivalent to the witness testimony of 2 women. O you who have believed, when you contract a debt for a specified term, write it down, and let a scribe write it between you in justice. Let no scribe refuse to write as Allah has taught him. So let him write, and let the one who has obligation dictate, and let him fear Allah, his Lord, and not leave anything out of it. But if the one who has the obligation is of limited understanding or weak or unable to dictate himself, then let his guardian dictate in justice, and bring to witness 2 witnesses from among your men. And if there are not 2 men available, then a man and 2 women from those whom you accept as witnesses, so that if the one of the women errs, then the other can remind her. And let not the witnesses refuse when they are called upon, and do not be too weary to write it, whether it is small or large, for its specified term. That is more just in the sight of Allah, and stronger as evidence, and more likely to prevent doubt between you, except when it is an immediate transaction which you conduct amongst yourself. For then there is no blame upon you if you do not write it, and take witnesses when you conclude a contract. Let no scribe be harmed or any witness. For if you do so, indeed, it is grave disobedience in you. And fear Allah, and Allah teaches you, and Allah is knowing of all things. Moving on now to number 2, we have this verse, Surah 4 verses 11. Allah instructs you concerning your children, for the male what is equal to the share of 2 females. But if there are only daughters, 2 or more, for them is 2/3 of one's estate. And if there is only one, for her is half. And for one's parents, to each one of them is 1/6 of his estate if he left children. But if he had no children, and the parents alone inherit from him, then for his mother is 1/3. And if he had brothers or sisters, for his mother is 1/6, after any bequests he may have made or debt. Your parents or your children, you know not which of them are nearest to you in benefit. These shares are an obligation imposed by Allah. Indeed, Allah is ever-knowing and wise. So what this verse described is that women inherit half of what a man inherits. And that's the bone of contention around this passage. And finally, we end this episode off at number 1, Surah 9 verses 29. Fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, and who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His messengers have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth from those who were given the scripture. Fight until they give the jizya willingly while they are humbled. Now guys, the issue around this verse is that apparently it tells Muslims to fight non-Muslims because they believe something different than they do. So that wraps up this episode. This was a brief look at 10 passages of the Quran that sound fake but are actually not. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you find it useful, informative, entertaining. As always, I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like before you head on out of here. And if this is your first time to the channel, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted. We post videos daily here on FTD Facts about the various different countries, cultures, religions, and people of our world. So if those topics interest you, join the FTD Facts family, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.